There are, to be sure, several shortcuts to what I'm about to say. I was investigating Will Zell Brown in the Mount Desert Island Society for Human Ecology, not Gail Burstyn, John Lennon, and Leslie Katz. That was just background noise at the time. John Lennon, I didn't know anything about. Also, the women who had abortions was their decision. I offered to raise the children. None of that's going to matter when it comes to the Hollywood production of grief being channeled as a mode of accusation to achieve commonality. That's the name of one of the Western Society's books on what Yoko Ono and Seattle Green Party have pulled. Pierre comes along, trot, and says Jimmy Curry is a symbol of the West because he wants to be paid a fair wage for his work and his injuries. And that's not a deaf problem. That's an American capitalist problem. So trot, Seattle provides a killer to rip or murder a bystander over a penny. Well, I got sad news for you. Even though it may sound good to the dingle of the airheads who think that Russia is the answer to the black man's prayer because of encouraging independence in Africa, which, don't get me wrong, is a perfectly good idea. It doesn't make it appropriate to torture a deaf person, attack them in the eyes. The idea of a ripper murder over a penny originates with who class? Israel. Okay, how do we know that? Because the C and the Star of David is the symbol of Neva Corporation. The script of Gail Burstyn came from a kibbutz in Israel and names Dee who is Neva Manson's sister. Mancine, like Manson Cinema. So Neva Corporation uses the C and a Star of David to execute people from America over money that they worked hard to earn in order to promote the robbery of exchange for Palestinians in the name of opposing the people from Palestinian resistance who set up the invasion and extermination of Gaza in the name of assassinating rave hippies. In other words, the people who were most libertine, out dancing, Woodstock, the rave queers. And Seattle is cheering them because in their twisted minds, this has to do with good leftist ethic on the streets of Harlem spinner beanies living in Seattle and poisoning people like me in the mouth at the Sabby Sab's Flotilla Soup Kitchens, where we were promised protection from abuse after 2 years of homelessness. And that's on the level, man. Ask anyone. They'll be slapping five at the Green Party barbershop. That's on the level. And they got no similarities to telling people that there's a red line in Rafah, as Joe Biden did. No, we won't bomb you in Rafah. There's a red line there. Then they move into the safe zone, and Savvy Slav's flotilla comes in the form of drones to bomb them, to poison them in the mouth. as a luxury soup kitchen because they dared to dream of a penny. And the Bhutanese honorary the black men in dreaming of liberation in Africa, applaud the idea of the white being a mode of accusation, an object of accusation is a mode of commonality. And this makes perfect sense to every civilized African leader from Yoko Ono to Roger Waters. Tony Blair and Donald Trump are honorary the African socialist leaders for coming up with this. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Sabby Sabs. And you think that doesn't make sense. It is the operating utensil. It's the operating undergarment of our favorite guy's whispers to Mercy Hospital. It's the underlying garment of Egyptian Rama's snide asides about people who don't want to be in armed combat with Israel without first checking the premises of the resistance to what? They claim to be resisting Israel by attacking one of Israel's most picturesque victims, a secret victim, who may never be a victim because an object in a mode of commonality is accusation. The crisis actor John Lennon set up the commonality of the object. So it has nothing to do with Wilson Brom's involvement in the Venus flytrap operation clock to the AIDS attack, and who he knew and how they set it up and the years of planning that were involved. No. It doesn't have anything to do with Seattle's cover-up for Gail Burstyn, whose letter was the most mass-murdering letter bomb in terrorist history. Instead, they believe that adopting Israel's strategy, which is where the Sea and the Star of David comes from, is advocating for Noam Chomsky socialism. So in other words, by building momentum, for the people who started AIDS, that no one ever be allowed to be paid for their hard work and sacrifice testifying and reporting on these murderers is the war against capitalism. And they'll get Putin's autograph for all of that. You think it doesn't make sense. It's the operating principle of why sound mental health poisoned me in the mouth, why the black Vultures got me in the eyes, if that's who did it, which it seems to have been. And I don't want any retaliation against black people, because it will just feed into the circuitry that allows this to go on in the name of a cool genocide, one where the status quo is distributed more equitably, not just all to white people, but to collaborators of all races and colors. And Gaza's just going to have to make way, and they'll be glad to. They talked to Mercy Hospital. Mercy Hospital says Jimmy Quirball didn't fight back when he was dragged through glass. He cried like a wimp. So, he's not Pittsburgh and he's not Palestine. He tried to get help. He tried to testify. What good was it? A 98-pound boy was attacked by full-grown armed men, full-grown and armed men, blindside, like being shot. Because why, class? Because the black African ancestor, Yoko Ono, wanted to set him up for her partner so that only the people who started AIDS get to make money from Martin Scorsese's movie about it. And Mercy Hospital says, our favorite guy wants to see those secret videos we made with Peter Shell to prove this white is an inferior. And you say it doesn't make any sense. They advocated for the people who started AIDS and got away with it and smashed Gaza and helped them smash Gaza. And they want us to celebrate them as the Sabi Says Black Panther lunch program flotilla. That's what they want us to do. Instead of seeing it for what it is, they want to continue with the endless grinding of stupidities all across the board. Instead of saying it doesn't make sense, what you should do is replay it and check the details. You'll see that it's the only thing that does make sense. The supernova rave was a symbol, and it was attacked by the fundamentalist tripartite system, who's planning to wage a war where they make peace in the name of a permanent grip by God law. It tells you when you can marry, who you can marry, and get up and program. If you have made enough money, you plug it into your home computer. So I want to go to bed. May I sleep with my wife tonight? And big sister Yoko Ono will say, Mother, may I? Yes, you may, or no, you may not. You might as well face it. That is what these stupid people in Seattle have pulled. That's what they've done. That's the modus operandi of their whole smorgasbord of stupid excuses. Why can't they come clean? Why did they have to protect Gail Burstyn? Why did they have to go along with the stupid idea that Robert Fripp holding his nose and dropping his pick converted automatically virginity into rape while they were making peep show pornos with Yoko Ono hotties found through the contrivances of an alliance of Donald Trump and Rosa Clemente to promote honoring the black men who were white guys from Russia murdering bystanders over a Paul McCartney penny. All of that makes perfect sense to you. At least that part makes perfect sense to you. Maybe you should be credited with being the only sensible people in the world, because you can make sense of yourselves and your stupidities.